What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Gakis, and today we're going to be taking a look at the exotic armor for all three classes that is likely to become meta in only about a week when the Renegades expansion launches for Destiny 2. Now, why am I saying that? How could I know that? Well, Bungie recently released a massive Sandbox tuning article detailing all of the buffs and nerfs coming to exotic armor in the next expansion. And guys, it was all buffs. Like 18 different exotic armor pieces were buffed. And so in this video, we're going to be picking out the biggest winners. What are the exotic armor pieces getting buffed to the moon that again are likely to start seeing a lot of play as soon as these buffs hit in Renegades? Well, let's get started. Now, normally I start with the objectively best class in Destiny 2, the Titan. Obviously, I'm not just saying that because I'm a Titan main, but there's a certain exotic armor piece that is getting so much attention because of its buff, we are actually switching over and starting with the Warlock. And that exotic is going to be the Mataiodoxia exotic chest armor. So, right now in the game, here's what it does. It says that targets damaged with your arcane needle strand melee emit a suspending detonation when defeated, and landing multiple arcane needles on the same target immediately triggers a larger, more powerful detonation. Defeating suspended targets grants melee energy, and you can break through barrier champions. So this really doesn't see too much play outside of very niche builds. But the buff this is getting could turn it into one of the most used Warlock exotics in the game. This buff is so huge that people are saying there's no reason to use Titan in endgame PvE because you might as well just use a Warlock with the Mataiodoxia. So what the heck is going on? Well, they're keeping its existing ability, but then adding new functionality. They're adding the ability for this to increase the super damage of your Needlestorm. So, hitting a target with 5 Needlestorm super projectiles now will also activate the special suspending burst. This burst, caused by the super, deals radically increased damage to all targets caught in the radius. This burst should allow Needlestorm to feel like a damage contender with the likes of the Cuirass Thundercrash. Guys, again, when you're bringing Titans into endgame PvE like raid day ones, they're running Cuirass because of how much DPS it deals. If you're telling me you can now just hot swap to Mataiodoxia on your Warlock, get off that super, do a ton of damage, and then go back to, for example, the Boots of the Assembler to heal yourself and your team constantly. I mean, that is just insane. And again, you also get these suspending all those bonuses from your melee, from your Arcane Needle. So again, this is getting the most attention out of all of these buffs. You absolutely want to get a good Mataiodoxia. Try to get one that is the Paragon archetype. That gives you a main super spike. Obviously, you're going to want 200 super now with the Mataiodoxia to increase that damage. But it also gives you melee for your other stat, which works with your Arcane Needle. So like the perfect archetype for this exotic, 1 to 100%. Go out, get, level up, like infuse. You're going to want a good Mataiodoxia. But moving on from there, we actually have another Warlock exotic getting a massive buff with the Winter's Guile exotic gauntlets. So here's what they do right now. Defeating targets with melee attacks increases your melee damage by a bit, and targets frozen by your stasis melee automatically shatter. And here's what they're doing. Yeah, that's a lot of text, but here's what it boils down to. Every time you get a melee final blow, you get 1 stack of increased melee damage. 10 stacks is plus 400% melee damage. Now, stacks are lost 1 at a time every 4.5 seconds. So if you have 9 stacks, you'll go down to 8, then 7, then 6. So it'll take a long time to lose all of your stacks. And when you reach 10 stacks, the next melee kill you get will trigger Warlord's Rage, where you have 10 seconds of 500% increased melee damage, and you get faster melee regen, all this stuff, but then at the end of it, you lose all your stacks, you go back to 0. So this could be absolutely insane with particularly Lightning Surge, especially on the Prismatic Warlock. I used to run a Lightning Surge build, and it's just incredible. Like, one of the better melee builds in the game, honestly. This plus Winter's Guile is just gonna be insane. Like, that much increased melee damage, melee regen, like all of that stuff is just going to pop off with Lightning Surge and whatever other, Warlock melee build you can put together, because yeah, these are some massive damage increases. But it's time to move on from there to the Titan. And the first exotic I've got to shout out is the Peacekeepers exotic legs. So right now, these give a bunch of benefits to submachine guns, and particularly for PvE, they're going to boost submachine gun damage the longer you remain on target. Now, here is the buff they're getting. Yeah, they just get a little bit more mobility, and now you can actually swap SMGs and it'll instant reload them. That's not a big buff at all. So why is this on my list? Well, it's because the Peacekeepers are actually one of the most meta exotics in the entire game for PvE right now. Like, these nuke raid bosses right now in the game. And so the fact that they're getting buffed at all, like the fact that they're not getting nerfed, is kind of a miracle. So now that you can potentially swap your SMGs, you don't have to rely on what I'm using right here, where you have rewind rounds plus target lock for an omega damaging SMG with Peacekeepers. You could potentially get away with not having rewind rounds, using different SMGs with much more damaged focus options, and then just swap between two SMGs to instant reload them and keep the damage going. So really interesting that the Peacekeepers, again, are getting buffed at all. They're already insane, so I had to mention them. But the other exotic I'm going to shout out, a few interesting buffs, second chance, armamentarium, all that stuff. But the one I'm going to shout out is actually the Arbor Warden. So right now in the game, this is a weird one. The Arbor Warden will actually make it so that using your class ability will essentially give you a special grenade, a barricade, and then you throw your class ability essentially, and wherever you hit, it deploys your barricade where it lands. So here's the buff. Picking up 3 orbs of power enhances your next barricade. Not hard to do. Your enhanced barricade spawns a Y pattern of 3 of your equipped barricades, and it does work with enhancements to your barricade like Dranger's Lash or Storm's Keep. So that means you just pick up 3 orbs of power. Again, they're spawning on everything. Use a weapon with attrition orbs, you're good to go. You chuck your class ability. Remember, it's just using your class ability does this. Like, it's not like it's taking up your grenades, taking away your grenades. You will then hit the ground, spawn 3. For example, you spawn 3 towering barricades. All 3 of them shoot out a Dranger's Lash suspending blast. You've basically turned your class ability into an arguably better suspending grenade. Like, that is actually really powerful. And this is so hard to judge, but I have it on here because we've never seen anything like this. Like, throwing 3 barricades at once, what is that even going to do? Remember, guys, your barricades, especially your towering barricades, will disorient nearby targets, will hurt targets that go through them. So if you're chucking 3 of them into a group of enemies, I mean, you're basically also throwing like a flashbang grenade. You're disorienting everyone around those barricades because you just made so many. So again, like, this is so hard to judge. We've never seen anything like that. I had to put it in here because it's just such a crazy enhancement to this ability. It could actually end up being quite decent. But moving on from there, guys, last and least, we have the Hunters. The Hunter Slander will continue as long as you guys keep murking me in PvP, okay? So it will continue indefinitely is what I'm saying. So here's what I want to shout out. The first thing, bit of a weird one, but I want to give a bit of a shout out to the Lucky Raspberry. This thing sees no play at all, and it enhances your arc bolt grenades. And it also says that damaging enemies with Jolt lightning strikes and collecting ionic traces both grant additional arc bolt grenade energy. So, and you can stun overload champions. So here's what Bungie's doing. It's actually a two-pronged approach. They're buffing this exotic armor, but they're also just straight up buffing arc bolts themselves. You can see here, they actually are going to trigger faster. They have a bigger max chain range from 7 to 10 meters and stuff like that. So all of that is great, and that's going to make these exotics better. But then, specifically for the Lucky Raspberry, now you always apply Jolt on Arc Bolt grenade hits. So, if you were ever running this before, obviously you were using the fragment that gave Jolt to your arc grenades in your arc grenade build, right? Now you essentially get a free fragment slot. You can put something else in there, and it returns arc bolt energy on any application of the Jolt debuff or triggering the Jolt chains on a target already affected by the debuff. So this is just going to result in much more energy, and with buffed arc bolt grenades and getting much more grenade energy, and getting essentially an additional fragment slot, this could be decent for just spamming out your arc bolt grenades. Funny enough, I actually have a bit of a shout out here to an exotic not on this list, but it's the Gifted Conviction. Now, this exotic chest piece will give you damage resistance if you jolt anything, right? And if you're running prismatic guys, remember, you get arc bolt grenades. So running arc bolt and then running the prismatic fragment that caused them to jolt actually would be very good for the Gifted Conviction. And I mention that simply because arc bolts are getting buffed. Again, bigger radius, all that stuff. So the Gifted Conviction, already incredible exotic, low key, is getting a bit better. But moving on from there, we have kind of two more exotics here in the same essentially slot for the hunter, and these last two exotics are going to be the Graviton Forfeit and the Omnioculus. And I mentioned them as a grouping because both of these exotics are meant for hunter invisibility builds, which are incredibly good right now. Like, I don't know why Bungie thought we needed more invis hunters, but here we are. So for the Graviton Forfeit, this is just going to essentially buff any invisibility effect. It's going to last longer, all of that stuff. And when you are invisible, your melee recharges faster, your weapons reload faster, and your class ability is recharging faster as well, guys. So for the buff here, what they're doing is that now when you go invisible, you get improved grenade, melee, and class ability recharge. It stacks up to 3 times, and the effect does not deplete while you are invisible. And at 3 stacks of the buff, successive triggers will actually give you a void overshield as well for more survivability. So again, like, Invis Hunter is already insane. I mean, you're running Prismatic, you're using Stylish Executioner. It is so easy to become invisible. So getting all of your abilities, regenning much faster, potentially getting an overshield as well, definitely not bad. And then for the Omnioculus, what these do in-game right now is that you gain a second smoke bomb, and when you throw them at an ally to make them invisible, they get damage resistance. So very good exotic. Certainly, here is the buff, guys. So what they're doing is that now throwing your smokes at your teammates will now start their health and shield regen. Now, this only works for your allies, not yourself, which obviously does suck. They would be incredible, like just arguably broken if you could throw your smoke at yourself, instantly start regen, go invisible. You got 2 smokes as well. But these could still end up being incredibly good for like a team support role. Your utility is already just being the invisible hunter, doing objectives while invisible, doing all this useful stuff while invisible. And now you can chuck your smoke at a teammate, give them invisibility, give them damage resistance, start their regen. That sounds really, really good. So these are the exotics I'm absolutely watching out for when Renegades launches, guys. That is going to be it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.